Okay, so you are ready to start your still life, our final piece for our observational drawing unit. But are you ready? One thing you should do is do a few compositional sketches. They don't have to be beautiful, you just want to get an idea of what you're going to draw. You're going to be spending some time on this, doing some nice work. So decide on a composition that is interesting to you. First of all, don't have too many objects in it. It gives you too much to focus on, it gets complicated. So instead of doing something like this, for instance, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 objects in there, let's simplify. Let's do a few objects, but really well. You also want to make sure you fill up your paper. So if this was my paper, there's not a lot of extra space. It's filled up pretty well. This is a nice example of zooming in and using the space. So make sure before you begin that you do have a plan. Now once you have that plan, it's time to get started. Drawing should be fun. It really should. Observational drawing is a little challenging, but relax, especially at the beginning. I guarantee you, you're not going to get every line perfect. I've done a lot of these drawings, and I don't get every line perfect. What you want to do is lightly kind of get everything in the right place. And notice I'm using guidelines there. There's the center of a bottle. Okay? And I'm holding my pencil super lightly because I know these lines aren't going to be perfect. I'm getting them about in the right place. There we go. There's my roll of tape about in the right place. Okay, now, and then I noticed something. Once I put that tape in there, I realize that my proportions are off. Once I do some checking, it just becomes very, very obvious that I made a major mistake. That's okay. Choose one of the objects, and I'm going to choose the tape, actually, even though I put that in second, and say the tape is correct. I'm going to fit my bottle to the tape. I'm going to fit everything else to the tape. Look at how far off I was. Isn't that amazing? Not even close. But I drew lightly, so it's fine. Right? Now I can get the bottle in. Now it's going to be much more accurate once I'm looking at that negative space and whatnot. I can see it. Okay? Again, I'm getting some guidelines in here, right? What is this? What does my tape line up with? So there it is. Let's set my screwdriver in here. And that's at a tough angle, so I'm going to definitely draw that lightly because I'm going to change that. And now that I'm a bit more confident, right, I've checked my proportions. They look pretty good. Now I'm going to start putting in some details. Right? Get all of your objects in before you start adding detail. Don't do one object super detailed, put in a second, and then realize that they're out of proportion. So now find the big detail. Big detail. Right? The bottom of your bottle. Right? I have a label on my bottle here. Right? Go make your shapes a little bit more accurate. And now you can use darker lines. Right? You're getting things about right now. Once you're happy with them, you can put them in there once you're confident. Right? Getting some of the bold lines, starting to put some shadows now. Right? Where are the very obvious dark shadows? The drawing is a process. So you want to get a good start. Don't get too dark too quickly. Trust your instincts. Don't be afraid to make changes. Alright, once you've got, I'm just going to carry on adding smaller and smaller shadows, right? More and more detail. Again, these are going to be quite dark, but notice I put them in lightly, right, just in case I have to make changes. And then when I look at it, I say, you know what, I got that. Then I'm going to pop in those dark values. Like anything you see, if you see a reflection, you see some shadows, like throw it in. You notice how this is just a little scribble. Just show me that you can see the shadows. Don't worry about getting them perfect. You can. You can go for it, but the most important thing is just show me that you can see these things, that you can see like an eye. And look what happens when you pop those nice dark values in there. It's good. It's good. Alright, now we're getting something. Now we're looking underneath the object. And you don't see just one shadow. Look closely. A lot of times it's going to be 2, 3, 4 different shadows. Right? Shadows within shadows. That adds some life to your work. Observe. You have to put it in there and trust. Trust that it's going to work out. Trust that as you add all these details, it's going to look more and more realistic. Remember, we're not going for perfection. We just want it to be accurate. Okay? So, try to enjoy this process. And one thing you're going to want to do at the end is kind of add a background in there. Give it a space. So I'm just going to take a ruler. Right, so there's the edge of the table. And I'm just going to lightly shade that in. I guess I could leave that white. I'm not sure what looks like. So I'm going to try a background here. So I'm going to put a dark background around that bottle. Actually, that looks good. Right? This looks better here. If you leave it white, that contrast between the table and the background, it really brings up the bottle. So I'd encourage you just to shade in a nice little background or a table. What looks better, that one or that one? I think I like the shade. But you can decide for yourself. Alright? So enjoy the process. Enjoy the drawing. I'm excited to see what you come up with.